even with Chat GPT and AI and all these different modes that can do things for us, that there's something different when we put our own heart and soul into something and create something like your little travel log. It feels very different. It feels more authentic and real and something that I can relate to. But I really feel that to take the humanity out of it is a big mistake.
Arlene Cohen Miller,
a former attorney turned coach and consultant, is here to discuss work-life balance and harmony.
To overcome perfectionism and procrastination.
I used to be like that lone wolf kind of person. I can do it all on my own. And I find that it's not healthy. We need a break. We need a break. I'm tired. We got this stuff done. It's great. Yay, we need a break. And I'd be like, just one more thing. And I push through and I push through and I push through. I think we really need to listen to our body. In our world, we seem to be conditioned more and more that we should be able to snap our fingers and get things done really quick. And that's just not how it is all the time. And so we really need to be...
Pardon the interruption. If you're liking the show so far, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. It really means a lot to me. It helps grow the show and the channel and to the show. Welcome to It's Your Choice podcast. Today on the show, we have Arlene Cohen Miller. Thank you very much for joining us today, Arlene.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I would really like to know, what is your definition of work-life balance?
Well, I've added the word harmony into my definition, work-life balance and harmony. I think I started off with work-life balance because people knew what that was. But as an attorney, I'm not practicing anymore. Just felt like balancing the scales of justice and trying to be perfect, which of course is impossible. And so it just felt like, and I saw somewhere they merged the word harmony into it. I thought, oh my God, that's so much better. So for me, it's like what we're attempting to do is to, or not attempting, what we're choosing to do is to be more adaptable and flexible in our life, because challenges are going to happen. We are going to have a lot on our plate in this life. And so if we come to that place of balance and harmony, what we're doing is we're feeling differently on the inside. Maybe we're feeling more calm, more relaxed, more centered, more aligned to love, more grounded in our bodies. And then we can handle the situations that are arising with much more grace, ease, and flow. It's probably not going to be perfect because there'll be little emergencies and things happening, but we'll have a much greater ability to handle what's coming up because we won't be stressed, overwhelmed, burnt out, feeling that we can't do it and we have too much on our plate. Because even if we do have too much on our plate, which seems to be my life recently, we can still find a way to prioritize and to make things work, and therefore feel a greater sense of harmony with our environment, within ourselves, and with the people that we interact with in our lives.
It's true. And I think that's a great way to have it, because I used to say a lot with work-life balance. And then part of me thought, we seem to use the balance is what always threw me off, because when I think of balance, I think of that 50-50, like it's balanced type thing. And then so I thought more of it as a bit of a teeter-totter, because it'll shift where we're focused is sometimes a little bit more on our personal life. Sometimes it's more work, depending upon what's going on. And then I had somebody on the podcast say work-life integration. I was like, oh, that's a good way to have it too, because for a lot of people who work from home, that we can take 5 minutes to stack the dishwasher if we're waiting for a meeting to start, as opposed to if we were in the office, we would just sit there and wait and talk to colleagues, and just some of those little things that we can do. And if we need, we can go to our kids' soccer game, but then work later in the evening. And so I liked that. And I do like the way that we do need to be in harmony with it as well. And as you said, I mean, any great plan, or we're in a good routine, and then I find, it'll be going good for a while, and then something always happens to kind of knock us off that balance a little bit, or out of that routine. It could be just getting sick, and we're throwing off, or our child is sick, or a friend of mine last summer was, everything was going great. She was doing some yard work and slipped on the ladder, and then her whole knee was messed up, and now she needs surgery for it. And it's just sometimes those unexpected things that then we need to kind of go back and review. And I like how you said too about then prioritizing what really needs to be done and what can wait or really doesn't matter, or somebody else might be able to do for us.
Right. I agree. And I read a great book years ago called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. And I love it. It's just a really
Mm.
small little book. And I'm not promoting it. I just love the book. But basically, what it taught me was, put at the top of my list that most gross, ugly, disgusting frog that I don't want to do at the beginning of the day, get it done, and everything else will feel like icing on the cake. Otherwise, that thing is going to be hanging over us the whole day while we get all these other things done that are important, but not as important as this one main priority. And sometimes I listen to myself about it and sometimes I don't. So I'm not a perfect with that. But when I do it, it does help. Sometimes those big hairy frogs really do take more time and consideration. And maybe we're learning new things and it's uncomfortable, but it does help to ease the stress, when we prioritize that way. Or sometimes the priority can just be, like you said, our health or our child or something that's come up in our life that was unexpected. And hey, we have to take care of it.
Right, right. There was somebody, it was a podcast that I was listening to a while ago. And I can't remember which one it was. I listened to so many, but he had said that he had found that the vast majority of the time, that task that we are generally putting off and putting off and putting off is the one that really is the most important. And it could be the needle mover in the business or our health or our personal life. But for some reason, that thing that we generally really need to do is the one that we resist the most.
And I find that is true, and sometimes it's like getting over that hump because maybe that new task is gonna take us out of our comfort zone. There's other things that we can do that are important, but we know how to do it. There's a grace, ease, and flow to it. There's not a stress to it. And I think humans, for some reason, we've been wired that if we're learning something new, it's quote has to be stressful. And I guess it's because they're all different kind of learners. I have a little bit of
Mm.
ADHD, and I'm very much of a kinesthetic learner. If you make me read a book with instructions step by step by step, you might as well pull up my teeth one at a time. I find that impossible. And so I guess we really have to be kind and patient and tolerant with ourselves and find the ways that we do learn and grow and move forward the easiest for ourselves, and then find that way to apply it or get someone to help.
Right.
We can build a tribe. I can do this thing. I'm really good at that, and you can do that for me, and we'll form a team here or something.
Absolutely. That's great to do and to help because, we some of the people that I've spoken to said we used to always say, you have your strengths, great, focus on your weaknesses, build your weaknesses into strengths. And now more people are starting to say, you know what, forget the weaknesses. Focus on your strengths, do your strengths, and find somebody to help you with those weaknesses. Of course, we always want to have a base knowledge of things, but when it's work related, if you're not a great editor, find somebody who's a great editor if you can, and work with those people, like you said, because otherwise, if we put it off, it's always kind of hanging over us. It's like, oh, I still got to do that. Oh, I still have to do it. And as we know, time goes by so quickly, and sometimes those hours turn into days, which all of a sudden it's a week, 2 weeks later, and we think, oh, I still haven't done that yet. That was 2 weeks ago. And it just
Right.
adds that level of unnecessary stress because it's always still lingering there in our mind.
Right. Right. And sometimes it's just it's not that we don't know how to do it, but we're busy. And we know if we tackle this thing, it might be a weak task. It might be a big chunk of time to really get it done the way it's supposed to. And in our world, we seem to be conditioned more and more that we should be able to snap our fingers and get things done really quick. And that's just not how it is all the time. And so we really need to be kind, patient, and tolerant with ourselves, as a part of that harmony, as a part of that more, I don't know, compassionate balance.
Mm. And I think giving us more time, even probably in the past year, and I've been doing some new things and trying some stuff. And I remember one day just saying to myself, okay, you know what, Sally? You just have to realize everything takes longer than what you expect. And that's okay. But just don't expect to be getting all of these things done in a day or whatever in an hour. Just be prepared that a lot of things do take us, or at least me, with what I'm doing, longer than what I anticipate, especially if it's the first few times doing it. It will get faster as I get better at it, but I still always think something should only take me 30 minutes and it takes me an hour with everything for some reason. And so
Hours,
with that,
right? I'm agreeing with you. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, so with that, sometimes we get frustrated and we can
Yeah.
get overwhelmed. And so what things would you recommend for people who are starting to get that frustration and overwhelm because either things are taking longer or that to-do list, whether it's written down or just mentally, is seemingly getting longer and longer?
Right. Well, I think one of the first things is that we, if we don't acknowledge it, most people have this perfectionist thing. And I was facilitating a group of women attorneys yesterday for the Colorado Women's Bar Association, and one of the panel members brought that up. You know, that she really noticed she had all this perfectionism and how much it was drawing her down, and it does draw us down because it
Mm,
just sets us up for failure. No one on this planet is perfect, or we wouldn't be here. So I like to say that practice makes permanent, and that mistakes are opportunities to learn and to grow. They're not an opportunity to beat ourselves up. And I remind myself of that every day because it's easy to fall into that old way of being. And so
right.
we need to notice if we're holding ourselves with unrealistic expectations and standards that we can never meet, that is simply not kind. You know, we're doing is setting ourselves up for failure, and to then beat ourselves up. And so let's decide to get something done that's really important and to acknowledge and celebrate that. And then if we have time, do something else, because otherwise, we're going to be on this kind of downward spiral because we're never going to be able to meet the expectations, the unrealistic expectations that we make for ourselves.
Right. And I think too, also realizing there are many ways to do something. And, like I used to do a lot of travel writing. I was a travel writer for years. And even when I had an article published, and if I read it after, so it's already gone through everything and the magazine or the place has published it, for the longest time, whenever I would reread the article, I was like, why did I use that word? Why did I should have changed the sentence? I could have done whatever. And realizing though that there are so many ways that we can get a task done. You know, a way I heard it recently is to do it mathematically in a sense. If the result is the number eight, 6 plus 2 equals 8. 4 plus 4 equals 8. 7 plus 1, like they're all ways to get to that result. And so we need to realize that we can get there many ways. There is no one perfect way, because if we do it one way, we could always look back and think, oh, I could have done this or should have done that. And it doesn't matter if it's done, and there's always going to be ways of improvement on everything, especially now with the way we're moving forward with all kinds of technology and everything else. There's no in many things there's no one absolute thing, and then that's it, it's done forever.
Right. And I agree, but I also feel like, even with Chat GPT and AI and all these different modes that can do things for us, that there's something different when we put our own heart and soul into something and create something like your little travel log. It feels very different. It feels more authentic and real, and something that I can relate to than if it's just a conglomeration of what everyone else has said on the internet about a certain topic. And so, yes, it does have its place. Maybe it can bring us an outline of a travel thing that might be helpful. But I really feel that to take the humanity out of it is a big mistake.
Yeah, I agree. I like it sometimes for like brainstorming. I'll go through and I'll have some ideas and I'll say, what are some great like for this podcast, I'll put in the transcripts and say, what might be some great titles for this, or some Facebook posts using the transcripts, and then that makes it easy because it gives an idea. I always have to adjust and modify because sometimes I'm like, well, I just don't like the way it's worded. Coming back to, again, it can be worded many ways for the same, but to switch it up. And so it can be used as a great tool. But like everything, we also have to be careful with it because it does take away that personal aspect. And as human beings, that's what we need. We are about personal contact, community, having a tribe. Those are natural human desires that we have and we want and we need.
Yeah. I agree. I actually did that for some of my titles for a pod match. We're both on pod
Mhm.
match, and the titles of the different topics I could do, and I'm like, I was having a really hard time coming up with them, and I just put it in there, and they came up with two or three of them I really liked. Some of the other ones are like, oh, no, I don't think so. But I was really surprised how they could pull things together. But we have to input the information to make it so. So we've got a
Absolutely.
tangent here, but I guess it all relates to that harmony and balance and how we use our time and how we step forward in life.
Yeah, I mean it's great for us to have those tools, and sometimes they make the job quicker and a little bit less stressful. Because if we're going back to a title or something like, oh, I don't know, and I've had some ideas, and we go back and look through some notes and stuff. Um, but having that, we can easily go through, pick what we like, and mine's the same. There's always been a few that are pretty good, and some that just I'm like, really, that's what you came up with this?
My thoughts exactly, but yeah, it did help because it's like I'm going to spend a day pondering topics versus putting some words in and moving things around and coming up with a few good titles. So
Mm,
yeah, it does have its place.
yeah, absolutely. And so that's always good because then it always helps us manage everything that we have on our plate because everybody's busy. But I've kind of wonder with it because we have it, because it is a tool and it does help. Are we putting the expectation on ourselves to even get more stuff done because I can use this tool and instead of pondering for hours about something or using it for an outline or whatever people are using all their chat GPT stuff for, which is great. But now are we expecting ourselves to get more stuff done because we have this tool to help us? And then is
I,
that adding more stress for us?
I hope not. I think that we get way too hard on ourselves, with these expectations, and that just creates a cycle of stress and overwhelm and can lead to burnout. And that we really need to recognize this and give ourselves breaks during the day and, use something what it's good for, but not use it to pile more unrealistic expectations and demands on ourselves that just cause more stress and cause us to go into this kind of downward spiral. So I can't speak for anybody else, but my recommendation is don't do that to yourself. Use it for the tool that it is, but let's not put any more stress or anxiety or expectations on ourselves. Let's begin to pare them back and really look at what's important and treat ourselves with more, dignity and respect.
Yeah, I agree. So I think it's great that, if we have our to-do list and writing things down, I think we're important to have a friend of mine who's considering starting her own business, and she's been in a corporate job for 15 years, and everything that she's kind of looking at now, very new, very different. She's not really into a lot of technology. She's not a fan of social media, but she's going to need to start doing some things. And she's just like, it's so overwhelming. I have to do all of these things. And I said, well, first of all, make a list. Make a list of all the things that you think that you need to do or everything that kind of pops up into your mind. And then look at that and then think, which ones are going to be the needle movers? Which are the ones that I can do that will move me the quickest and the most that are most important? Because as we said earlier, we can get caught up in things that need to be done, but they aren't the biggest thing. And then to go through and just one by one, start going through it. And you're always going to be adding stuff to the list. But I said, there's going to be a lot of those things on the list that you don't need to do now. You can do in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, maybe even a year from now, depending upon how you're going about with the business and what's going on. And then you just kind of write it down to get it out of mind and then focus on the things that are the most important first.
I her coach and tutor for a accredited coaching school with the International Coaching Federation. And so right now I'm listening to people's their last session in like these triads or practice triads before they go out and they work with people on a free basis, pro bono basis. And this conversation was this woman is in the course and she has all this stuff to do, but she's still walking around looking at her house like this wall is just so dirty and disgusting and has all these scratches and it needs painting. And there was something else that she needed to do in her house. And the really cool thing was in this coaching conversation, she realized, you know what? I'm going to have a different view of this wall. I'm going to have a different view of this other thing that needs to be fixed in my house because that's not my priority now. I'm going to be graduating from this school in the next 4 months. It's going to need to get all my attention, all my stuff towards this one goal, which is so important. And, I'm going to have to find a different way to look at the wall, which she did. And I thought it was just a really, really great example because when she entered this conversation, the wall was really, really bothering her. And by the end, she's like, I don't know. I forget what she said she was going to do with it, but it's just a perfect example. We start focusing on other things that need to be done, but there's this big thing over here that we're involved with that really must come first, at least for now. And the wall will wait. The world will fall apart if that wall is not painted or decorated or wallpapered. But yeah, it's a really cool example.
It is. And I wonder if that we do that because we all do things like that to take focus away from what's important because we have a little bit of, we could call it nervousness, fear, anxiety, worry about the task and whether that is, we might not do well at it or it's going to take so long or the number of things. And we use that as a variety of things as a distraction. And then also if we're doing other little things that kind of need to be done, but aren't important, that we're keeping busy. So we can still just say, oh, I'm so busy. I have all that and I've got this and I know I have that big thing to do, but we focus on those things to keep ourselves busy. So we sort of in a way use it as an excuse to not get done the really important things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we need to call ourselves on that and go, am I busy being busy? Because if we do that, then we're going to get burnt out too, because we need to take breaks. I know that I can only sit in front of my computer for so long. And even if it's cold, I have to go outside for a little bit or something, just to get away from the computer, the EMFs or whatever it is, the radiation from the computer and just being in front of it and sitting in one position. We need to move around. We need to take care of ourselves. And those other things, they are, quote, important. Of course they are, but they're just not at the top of our list now. And we will get to them. We have to take care of the big things first. And I think I'm talking to myself a little bit here. There's a few things that I could put on the top of my in tray that have been sort of in the middle there. But yeah, because we all have that kind of stuff. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is beyond my comfort zone. I need to get it done. It's important, but it's new to me. I don't know. I'm not an expert in this area. We're much more comfortable when we have years of experience and expertise in doing something and not, learning something new.
Pardon the interruption. If you're enjoying this episode and you're someone who values performance, clarity, and personal growth, then you're going to love my Mind Matters weekly newsletter. Every week, I send out a quick, powerful piece designed to help high achievers like you master your mindset, upgrade your habits, and lead with more clarity and fulfillment. It's not fluff, it's science-backed, actionable, and easy to digest. It as your weekly reset button to realign with the leader you're becoming. So if you want to go deeper than what we've covered here on the show, then head over to www.sallypederson.com, that's me, and subscribe. Your next breakthrough just might be one email away. Now back to the show. So when we've got, for what do you do yourself to relax when you've got all the things on the plate, you've got a list of things to do, but you know that you need breaks. We all need to take breaks. What types of things that work for you do you do to relax?
Well, I have a daily yoga practice. So if there's something that makes your heart sing, make sure you integrate it into your life. I love my yoga community. There's all kinds of yoga things. The exercise is both therapeutic to me and the breath work you do with it really sort of like puts me in a whole different mindset. And just talking with people that have the same interest with me is really lovely. I do work with breath work and meditation and relaxation techniques and stuff like that. And I also work with this is not working with, I just like to get outside. I just love nature. And even taking a short walk around the block and breathing some fresh air and looking at the scenery, even if we don't have time to go to a nice park or, places like that. And we have all sorts of beautiful places in Colorado. And I know you do where you live too. We can still take that time, just to get that fresh air. I don't know, sometimes if I don't have a lot of time, I'll just even listen to music that I just love. And I might be crying, I might be dancing, just anything. But my normal thing, just to have that little kind of intermezzo, that little dish of sorbet in the middle of all the dishes of things I have to do today, and just let something go. And so, yeah,
Right.
we need to break that. Um, and or so I'll just go upstairs. I'm not a great cook by any stretch of the imagination, but there are things I love to eat. So I might make sure that I make myself that I'm just me and ahhing the whole time I'm eating it and just really enjoying it. So I don't know, whatever floats your boat, whichever is like it's kind of a heart singing thing that it just helps to you to release and relax and let go of the stress you've been holding on to.
Mm.
Give yourself that break so that you're more refreshed when you come back to it.
Right. And I think that's important too. Like I also love to be outside and I try to go for walks and sometimes the weather isn't always the best or timing, even sometimes between if I have quite a few podcasts in a row scheduled, I only have about 15 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes between each one. And I'll still at least get up, walk away from my computer, get a glass of water, or just go look out the window and then just to be completely out of the area and then come back those few minutes later and to reboot. And even though those aren't ideal lengths of time, but it helps instead of still just looking at the computer and doing
Or
whatever else for those few minutes or scrolling or anything. So those are always great. And then I always try to, whether it's on a weekend or if it's a day that I've just decided that I'm not going to work or if I have appointments or whatever, and then to try to do something that I really enjoy doing. Like I love going jogging. When I go, I go for about an hour is my thing. So I love that. I do travel quite a bit, so I do combine work and travel. But just getting out and, as you said, finding those things that we love to do, hanging out with friends, going for dinners. I love doing that because I'm not much of a cook either. I love to cook if I'm having a dinner party and people over, then I enjoy cooking and I'm pretty good at it. But because I'm single, I'm just like, to cook for myself. I mean, I don't eat out a lot, but I don't make anything special or that nice because I'm just like, cook for an hour to eat for 10 minutes alone. Not really worth it for me.
yeah. And I would also what I do sometimes if I've been out and about all day and then I have like some podcasts or whatever to do in the evening, I'll just take a quick 3 minute hot shower and
Mm,
I'll just feel my whole day washing away. And literally, we're cleaning our auric field, our energy field around our body when we're doing it as well. And then maybe put on a different set of clothes. And I find, and I can just leave my makeup and my hair alone. I don't have to redo
mhm.
all that if I don't want to, or maybe
Right.
just touch it up. But to me, that just is like, I feel like a new person. It's just like that break and there's something really therapeutic about it. I don't know what it is, but for me, if that's all I have, just that 3 minutes to have that hot shower and sort of do a quick little redo up and then go back to what I need to do, I feel like I have like a new lease on life somehow.
Yeah, it is quite refreshing in a way. Some people like the cold showers and they say that that makes them feel better. I'm not like that. Any of that cold shower, cold plunge, anything cold, I'm just not a fan. But I understand that there are health benefits and stuff to it. But I always feel better with that hot shower. Or as you said, I do the same thing sometimes. It's just I call it a quick rinse. And it just makes me feel better just to have that for a few minutes and I'm out in no time and then ready to do whatever it is that I need to be doing next.
Yeah.
So, in situations that people are starting to get maybe some cranky or irritable, and maybe they've done the walk or they've had a shower or they've done whatever it is, some breathing exercises that they do, and it just doesn't seem to be working, and they just need a way to either refresh their batteries or they're really starting to kind of feel burnout. What are some ways that people can avoid feeling that way?
Well, I think I know why I got that way with that burnout was that when I was a younger attorney, I would, want to get a whole bunch of stuff done so I could pick my son up from school and maybe get some stuff done at night. And so I would get a couple of really good things done in the office, and my body, my human bit would be going, we need a break. We need a break. I'm tired. We got this stuff done. It's great. Yay. We need a break. And I'd be like, no, just one more thing. And I push through and I push through and I push through. I think we really need to listen to our body. If we've gotten a few things done and our body needs a break, take a break. Don't let it build up and up and up. It can, for me, it just can be a glass of fresh water, and I don't know, just something. It can be something really simple that gives me a new lease on life, leaving the room that I'm working in, for sure, because I work from home as well. And there is no magic fairy dust, but we do know things that help us to relax. We do know things that make our hearts sing. And so there are so many things out there. I mean, some of my friends like to go into the garden or clean out their cupboards or whatever, because when we get rid of stuff that's just we're not using, it is refreshing.
It
So
is.
whatever it is for you, listen to your body first when it's saying it. It's not going to hurt you to take a 5, 10, 15, 20, 30-minute break, because you're going to come back more refreshed and more able to do what needs to be done. And maybe just give yourself the opportunity. What really makes my heart sing? What can I go to if I start feeling really stressed out? It might be lunch with a friend. It might be a pedicure and manicure. It might be a massage. I like my massages.
Yeah, me too.
Have to know what works for you, that helps you just release, relax, and let go if the breath work and whatever else you're doing is not working. Because obviously there's still some talking in your head that's going around and around and around and causing that stress to exacerbate. So we need a way to say no to that and yes to what we'd like to experience more of, that helps us to be more of that calm and relaxed person.
Right. I don't know if you listen to Dr. Huberman from the Huberman Lab podcast, but he says ideally, and of course everybody's a little bit different, but kind of if we did focus work for about 90 minutes, not more than that, but up to 90 minutes of one task, like focused work, one task, and then to take anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes to just do something else. And it could be either the walk, the meditation, the breathing, read a book. Or he said sometimes it could be just answer emails. So, if it's still stuff that you kind of need to do, but you're not, the things that you don't really have to think about. They're kind of automatic. They don't take much brain power. You do that for that time. And then again, then you can refocus for that up to 90 minutes. And those that they've found are kind of the best way for our brain power to work. And then with that, though, too, is also knowing, when is our brain the sharpest? When are we the most creative or focused or whatever? And everybody's different, as we know. Somebody say, "Oh, I'm a morning person. Oh, I'm a night owl. Oh, I'm this or that." And so, when you know where your brain is feeling the best and the sharpest, that's when we want to be doing that work. And if it's first thing in the morning, then do your work first thing in the morning. Obviously, not everybody can do this that easily, but if it's more in the evening time, maybe the morning is when you go to the gym, do your meditation, do some emails, whatever. And then that real focused work is in the afternoon or evening, if that's when you feel one of the most sharpest.
Yeah. There's one thing I sort of disagree with the Matt. I get so many emails, and I haven't gotten that proficient at blocking all the spam, although more and more is going into my spam folder. But I find that if I've done a task, and sometimes I do sit there and do a bunch of my emails just to get them out of the way, but I'm not refreshed after that. That's me personally. And if I have to go back and do another task, then I still need some sort of intermezzo thing. I find that I feel great that I got maybe a whole bunch of my emails deleted, and I know which ones I need to go back and focus on, but I just don't find that a relaxing thing. It's like one more thing to do that has to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still think that lots of times we need a break, a real break, besides just sitting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so it is, everybody's different. Right. And so it is figuring out for each person what works for us. And then also within that, where are we? What type of structure? Like if you're in the office, even still to just go walk down the hallway, If you can escape the building, walk around the block or even around the building and come back in, all of those little things. And that's the thing is there is no right or wrong way. Like we are all different and we need to find out what works for us. So it's great to talk to people to see what they're doing and potentially try it. But I always say to people, there's no one size fits all with anything, with how you work, with how you work out, with how you eat, with how you deal with stress, with how you live your life. Like you need to figure that out. And that's through trial and error to find out what works for you, because just because it worked for your friend, your sister, your cousin, 12 people at work might not be the best for us individually.
And yeah, you just brought something to mind that I think is really important. I do like personal development, kind of spiritual personal development groups online and in person. And I'm also a member of a couple of mentoring groups where a group of, I call it like-minded souls come together and we support each other. And I think that's really helpful and important because oftentimes if we have people that are on the same page, we not with everything, maybe just some of the things, but when we have that support, we have that accountability person, that it helps us to move together. It's easier to move forward. You know, if we're instead of just doing it by ourselves. I find that I used to be like that lone wolf kind of person. I can do it all on my own, and I find that it's not healthy. You know, I do so
Right.
much better in other groups, even though it takes time. I get ideas from what other people are doing. I support them. They support me. We support each other, and like the energy of the group, the positive energy of the group builds. You can't have people in there that are just total complainers. That's not going to work. But
Right.
I found that it's a really, really good thing that maybe some members of, your listeners, your audience might want to try. And it can even be as
Mm.
simple as, I want to learn pottery and I'm in a pottery group and I talk to people as I'm doing things or whatever. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to have an affinity with these people about everything. It's just whatever is important for whatever we're moving forward with or whatever we want to explore and discover more within ourselves.
Right. And I think that's great to mention because there's so many things we can do. I can do so many things and I can do it on my own. But for one, do I really want to? Can somebody do it better or faster, which frees me up time to do more of what I like to do and what I enjoy doing, which makes it better. And that's where I love, as you said, to have that group or community. And we can have many of them because many of us have, like, I have so many things that I'm interested in and so many things that I like to do. And some of it other people just aren't interested in, don't care about, and that's fine. And I've got great friends that we do a lot of things together. And then there's other things that they do I'm not interested in, I do that they're not interested in. And that's okay. And I mean, that makes it more interesting. And then we do get lots of ideas because sometimes too we get kind of that tunnel vision and we think, like one time a lady I was working with, she approached me she's like, your articles are great. I want to republish one of them in my magazine. And I was going through all of them, trying to find my favorite. And I narrowed it down to two. And I was with some friends at some co-working and I'm like, which one do you think I should send her? I have these two. I love them both. I think they're really great articles. And I was a little bit stressing about it because I wanted to send the right one. And a friend of mine, she looks at me and just so easily, she says, well, why don't you just send both and let her pick? And it was just like, why didn't I think of that? Because I was so focused on send one, do this. And she loved them. She's like, I'm going to use both. We'll use it
Wow.
2 issues, one of each. It was just, when she said it, it was like this light bulb went on. And I just thought to myself, well, duh, why didn't I? Like, that's so obvious. And we just get so in it and stressed about it.
Yeah, and it's in someone else that's has a new perspective can just relieve the stress. Or it's like, oh, because I have that happen all the time, and I'm like, a friend will suggest something, and I'm like, I knew that. Why can I think of that? But we have so much on our plates. It's just wonderful to have those kind of I like friends around me that I know that if I sort of bounce something off or say something, they're going to come up with something that I know probably but haven't thought about, and I'm always so grateful. It's just wonderful to have those kind of communities. And like I tell the people that I work with, you don't have to have like you're just saying, you just can have an affinity with one thing. Maybe you both like to paint or both like to walk or both like to run or both like to do yoga. And that maybe that's the only really connection. And once you start talking, you might find other connections, but we're not going to find someone that fills, all the little checklists of things of what we're interested in. If we're waiting,
No.
we're going to be disappointed. So, take the other route.
Absolutely. And also too, I mean, there's going to be things that we disagree about, or you like and I don't like. And that's okay. I mean, it shouldn't be we have everything in common or nothing in common, because I always say to people, in almost every situation with almost any human being on earth, you can find something in common with. It might take a while. You might have to do some digging, and it might be currently what they're doing, things they like to do, things in the past. You've been to a same country or city or something. But in most cases, there's always something that we have in common. And I laugh about it a little bit too, because people are like, yeah, I guess so. And then I think of, I always say somebody that you think that you don't like, and in your head, and try to think of, with everything that you know about them, if you can find something, some type of common something. And there usually is. There's always something.
Yeah, there is always something. And I think that's important to remember, because not going into politics at all, there's so much separation energies here, especially in the United
Yes.
States. And just different news networks pitting people against each other. And we have
Hmm.
so much in common. And lots of times, maybe we want a lot of the same things, not everything, but we're maybe looking at it from different angles, and we're getting persuaded by different kind of propaganda. And I find it, I feel like people are beginning to wake up more and more, and look at alternate sources, but it's
Right.
really doesn't serve anybody if we're looking at all of our differences. If we're looking at the sameness within us, then we're going to have something in common.
Absolutely. And it's about many things too. Like, two of my best friends, we don't agree on politics. We're quite different, but we always have conversations about it, because we're open to having conversation, and because we've always known through the conversations that sometimes we'll say, some politicians said blah blah blah, and one will say, I think it's great. And I might say, well, but that means XYZ. And she might say, well, no, it means. And so sometimes we realize it's our interpretation, or
Right.
how did they say things. And I mean, that comes across with all types of marketing, with politics, with religion, with so many things, and even just conversation. I mean, I know I've been in conversations on both ends where I've said to somebody, well, you said XYZ, and they respond, well, I didn't mean it that way. And the same thing has happened. I've ended up saying to him, I was like, oh, well, I didn't mean it that way. And so
Yeah.
sometimes we have to stop and look at what we're saying or how we're interpreting it, because I mean, we have gone so far in technology and we can do so many great things, but I really find we really lack at communication.
Well, and I find that, especially with certain people, it's just we have a way of misinterpreting if we text each other. I just like, no,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
talk with you. I have to talk to you in person, because you can hear their inflection, you can hear their tone of voice, you can ask them something, and something
Yeah.
can really go south if we're just texting each other. Now I have my stepson. That's his love language, texting. He and his wife text all the time, and I'll text with him, and it'll be really lovely, because for some reason with him, that is how his heart is there. I don't know how to explain it, but most people, it just doesn't work.
Right.
Like with my son, usually it doesn't work. I have to get on the phone with him, even if that's how his whole generation communicates mostly. And I'm doing it more and more too. There is something to be said about that, listening to people's tone of voice and being able to ask those verbal questions.
Hmm. It does make a difference, because I say to people, I could say, that's great. That's great.
Right. There's so many words.
Same, exact same words in a text message, but what? And then it comes down to how I interpret it is based on my mood, not
Right.
how you wrote it or what you wrote. It's how I'm reading it, which could be completely off if we're in opposite moods. One of us in a great mood and writes something, the other is not. It's that interpretation, and so we do have to be really careful with that.
Yeah. And I guess since we're talking about balance and harmony and coaching or whatever we're talking about, somehow all we're saying is tying back into that topic, but I don't really know how to tie it up with a nice bow for a box right now, but it just feels like it is all related for anyone that's listening to us because we are in this free flow kind of conversation here today.
It is. And well, because the balance is, it's not only what we're doing when we think of work and personal life, it's balance within ourselves. And balance within ourselves is how we're feeling, how we communicate to others, how we talk to ourselves. All of those things is how we feel, which then reflects on what we do. Because if I'm feeling good and harmonious in my body and my mind and health and all of that is good, I'm more likely to happily do more things, get more things done, you know, spend time with friends and family and go out. But if I'm not, if I'm unhealthy, if I'm feeling really bad, I'm going to be slacking at work. I'm not going to be getting tasks done or not doing them very well. I don't want to spend time with family and friends because I'm not feeling like it. So it really does all kind of combine together. And there's the ripple effects of everything. Like there's not one thing if you just do one thing that's going to be it. There's always ripple effects in all areas of our life around it.
Yes. Like I knew there's a way to pull it all together, but I just wanted to make sure that your audience could feel that as well. So I agree with what you said. Yeah. And we do have these biases and blinders and we could even be, in a communication, having not let it go of some sort of judgment that some other person did, or and whatever it was, they broke an expectation or they didn't treat us a certain way, and they might be completely unaware of it. And bring all that into this next conversation. So it's multi-layered, and
Yes.
it's really important to be aware of all of that when we're focusing on bringing that balance and harmony and all those beautiful qualities into our life.
Yeah, and for people to remember too, it's not always easy. It's not black and white, and it takes time. And we can make those changes, but we have to be patient with ourselves, and we also have to be patient with other people as well.
Yes.
So, Arlene, if people were interested in working with you or finding out some more information about you, where are the best places for them to go?
Well, you can find me anywhere on the net if you Google my full name, Arlene Cohen Miller, and I'm sure that'll be in your notes.
Yes.
Also, my website is Jewel, Jewel Consultancy, because it's like a diamond, and I feel like we all have different aspects of the diamond. And
Hmm.
I facilitate different aspects of the diamond with the coaching and the mentoring and the facilitating, and I do soul readings as well, and I'm getting into some speaking stuff. So it's there's a multi varied way that you can connect with me if you check out my website. And I am always open to anyone whose podcast I'm on. If you want to text me at 720-936-2634, mention this podcast. And so I'll know who you are. And I'm happy to text and respond to you.
Perfect. And as you said, we'll make sure that we have all those links in the show notes to make it easy for everyone to connect. And I just want to say thank you again for your time today, Arlene. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.